Dieter Rosch. I am the Executive Head of Cloud and Solution Architecture at BBD.
I'm Davidson, Director of BBD and the CTO. The hype is there to sell newspapers. So often there's a lot of claims that are exaggerated, let's say. It makes you believe that AI is dominant everywhere, and also that corporates tend to get on the bandwagon as well. They will claim that this new process is now run by AI, when AI only does one little smidgen of the entire orchestration, but it's good looking in the press.
I think operationally the other problem is they get very fixated on the AI platform. So they try and spend an 18-month process trying to pick the best solution provider, the best cloud provider, to give them a platform to build on. And then secondly, I think they focus on the promise of this magical AGI that's going to solve all of the problems in 5 years, instead of focusing on what problems they can solve right now. And then thirdly, I think there's just a fundamental problem in enterprises in accepting change and change management. I think it means solving a real world problem within the constraints you have right now. So with the data you have right now, as opposed to trying to focus on what you can solve in 5 years.
Yeah, practical AI for me is something that is use case specific, rather than trying to take a big picture view and try and use the AI hammer at everything that you can see.
First of all, make sure you have the data right, that you have clean data to work off of. Make sure that there's a cost ceiling. Open-ended experiments tend to end up being very expensive. And again, focus on an actual practical use case that is measurable, that has a baseline, so that you can measure the before and the after.
Yeah, as for Dieter, pick a use case. That doesn't mean to say that you can't do the experimentation as well. Sometimes you need to explore, and especially with AI opening all sorts of new possibilities that we didn't think of before. Exploring is still important, but you do need to ring fence certainly your budget at least.
Also, one of the places where AI is actually really, really strong, and one of the places where we see the biggest benefit for our own developers, is in the experimentation phase, being able to stand up a proof of concept much faster by using Claude Code, by using Codex, using the available AI tooling. We can now stand up POCs in a matter of hours, what typically used to take a week or two. I think because the feedback loop is fast and it's honest, and it's on a very focused, specific problem. If you take an existing, very focused use case, you can limit the scope, and you can very quickly see if it's actually working or not. You don't have these open-ended problems where 6 months later you only realize it wasn't working.
Yeah, to carry on that vein, obviously the business understands its operations, and it can easily identify places that are repetitive, mundane, that's easy to target for AI. They just understand their own business well.
It's very measurable. If you have a false positive, you can measure the time and the effort and the cost that you go into investigating it. And if it's a false negative, you know what the cost of the fraud is. So it's very quantifiable very quickly. And then secondly, it's essentially pattern matching at massive scale. It's something humans can't do. It's impossible to check every single transaction if you've got millions of transactions a minute. But an AI is very good at doing that very easily.
I was going to say more or less the same. Pattern matching is something AI excels at, and fraud identification is a well-known and well-traversed use case. We've been doing it with rules engines before, and we've been doing it with AI for quite a long time now as well, even before we had agentic. It's about orchestrating the AI into the human workflows, and understanding how to break out to the human in the loop, and then breaking out to systems that are already inside your ecosystem, and then orchestrating all of that together as a whole. Often the AI part is the easiest part to achieve, but then orchestrating that into your organization is actually the challenge.
Yeah, I would say if it's done well, it doesn't actually it looks like a well-run team. It doesn't look like AI or human. It just looks like a well-run team. To Russ's point, I think the handovers are seamless between the AI and between the humans. And I think in the end, what you need to measure, it mustn't be looked at as a cost-saving exercise. You're not trying to replace your humans. What you're trying to do is get to a higher level of customer satisfaction and higher query resolution time. Anywhere where you see a lot of mechanical repetitive work, where knowledge workers are taking the same inputs every time and getting to the same output. And that's not actually knowledge work, that's just mechanics being disguised as knowledge work. The real knowledge work is when you need to apply context and deep thought to something. So what we envision right now and where the market is going is to really have the AI focus on all of the mechanical, repetitive, mundane stuff. A good example is something like invoice matching. That's something AIs can do very quickly, and billing teams have to do that all the time, but that's not what they actually want to do. That's just the input to what they really want to do.
If you take finance, banking, there's audit requirements, governance and legislation. They have to be able to prove where they got a certain figure from in a certain calculation. So you can't put the calculations into a non-deterministic AI engine and get outputs that you can't explain.
Yeah, and I think to that point, the reason the explainability specifically is important is if you explain to a regulator why you made a decision, your own team, your own risk team has to be able to investigate and interrogate and actually stand behind the decision. So without that traceability and without that auditability, they will never have the trust and they will never be able to do that. And then I think in terms of governance, the reason that's important is if you don't have top-down governance of these type of processes, what ends up happening is you've got these little pockets where teams automate parts of a problem themselves, but no one actually owns the overall systemic risk. You need a central point of risk management, and the only way to do that is through proper governance. They skip the data phase, and then when they do an experiment, the experiment works perfectly because it's on curated data, but the second you take it into production, it fails because production data is dirty. The second place they often fail is change management. They've got an AI that works, but the users don't use it because they don't trust it or they don't like it and they work around it. And I think then thirdly, once you've got that governance going or got that product in, is then to make it repeatable so that you can then continue doing the same thing. So quite often they don't learn from the initial experiments and make it a repeatable process.
So successful businesses do well at understanding their own business domain. As such, they can find areas fairly easily that they can point AI at to again remove those repetitive and mundane tasks as well. But also they understand the broader picture as well, and maybe they can identify areas where AI can help in pattern matching type scenarios.
Pick one problem, focus on the problem. Pick one owner, not a committee. The owner must care about the problem. Focus on the data, get the data right before you start. Keep measuring everything right from the start so that you can see where the cost benefits are and you can very easily make it repeatable and teachable. Give your people the space to experiment. Don't wait for the platform to be ready.